Here are awesome in-engine gameplay clips for Chrono Odyssey, the upcoming time-based MMORPG from Pixel. You may remember a few months ago we covered the reveal for this awesome and surprising game and promised to keep you guys up to date on all the new information released for it. It looks like the social media team has recently released some more gameplay clips of the game itself and even the different classes, so let's go through them. This first clip shows a battle between the warrior class and what we are speculating is a boss or mini-boss. You can really see the more action-focused combat in motion here, as it very much looks like a modern action game in terms of its gameplay rather than that of a traditional MMORPG. The developers haven't released any information about how different the classes will play, but the clip is very telling on the different concepts of this class. You can see that this warrior class, which is called the swordsman, will probably be our tank class, as the majority of the gameplay is focused on blocking attacks, but they are able to do a mix of sword and shield-based attacks. Outside of that, the shield in particular seems to glow as you execute an attack, so maybe there's some type of additional damage like a stagger or stun being done like in other games. That was just one out of the 8 clips that we have, so don't worry if you aren't too familiar with the game. We'll give you a quick recap at the end of the video. But if you are liking the look of the game or just looking for a new MMORPG, then hit like down below on the video and let us know what you think about these clips in the game itself. This clip is actually insane, as it shows one of the raid group size bosses and a bunch of players taking it on. The developers have said that this is a world boss raid, and we will have to team up to increase our chances. This time the video is showcasing the sorceress, and the boss in the video seems to be our favorite manta ray dragon boss style thing that we saw before in the reveal, which looks awesome in of itself. And what's surprising about it is, for something so big, it's also very mobile. As you can see, it does this Tokyo Drift style Beyblade 360 spin move, and it has the ability to create portals. If we slow it down, you can see some of the attacks the boss is doing are very unique, as it shoots laser beams through a portal to create additional laser beams that players will have to dodge. The creature itself seems to be a guardian, which are greater beings that have been pulled from other worlds to then oversee this world, etc. Or it could just be a member of the Void, which are basically this game's big bad. In this next clip, we get to see what we expect is the Paladin class in action, and it looks to have some moves that are glowing golden and yellow, which is usually an indication of holy magic. Plus, in every game with a Paladin, they normally have a spell that creates some sort of shield around them with a floating shield, and interestingly, the Paladin in this has 2 weapons, which are the mace and the other being the lance. We are, however, very curious to know if you're able to play any weapon with any class or if they are class-specific. This is because in the original trailer, we saw a player dodge an attack and then transform classes into a sorceress. What we do know is that weapon switching will be core to the gameplay, as the developers have said this in the past. Make your combat style your own with Chrono Odyssey's weapon switch teaching system. Each character can equip 2 weapons at once, providing opportunities for dynamic personalized gameplay. I will say, though, the armor definitely looks very awesome in this, and this is something for me that has been missing in a lot of more looter-based games recently, where usually you end up farming armor that doesn't even look good. For this next clip, we're sticking with the Paladin because it shows it off again, and this one has the Paladin taking on the world boss. The actual description of this clip says, "Take aim to deal critical hits." Watch how the Paladin handles against a world boss. Criticals are normally pretty straightforward in an MMO, and it's usually a percentage-based chance to proc. But in this, you can see them highlighting the Paladin hitting the head area in particular. That makes us think maybe it's more so of a system where larger enemies have hit zones that can then proc critical hits, and what that means is you're going to have to focus on where you're attacking or aiming, which makes for a more engaging system in combat and will make positioning much more important. But there isn't just things against large-scale raid bosses. There's also clips that highlight smaller-scale party-based raids against different monsters. This time we see a party of 5 taking on a monster that looks like it could have been pulled straight out of Monster Hunter, with something like a Nagakougar's backflip attack and raw right after. We can also see more of the sorceress and the defensive skills that it has to offer. I love the animations for when it's spellcasting, and the book flipping between pages just looks really clean, and the class has quite a bit of mobility as well, being able to teleport, which is always a concern for spellcasters if they're not mobile enough, because usually they're kind of like glass cannons. And in this next clip, we can see more of the sorceress's offensive abilities, with them being able to cast different elemental effects such as fire and ice. The ice spells seem to be able to not only deal damage but also freeze the enemies, and hopefully, the game has a wide variety of spells so that players like us can create our own playstyle. And next, we have one of the coolest looking classes, which we know a lot of people will probably want to play, and that is this next clip of the Assassin class. Not only does this show some of the awesome abilities of the Assassin in action, but it also shows the weapon switching mechanic of the Assassin where you're able to switch from close-range dual blades to a ranged option using a gun. From the original gameplay trailer, it looks like those two weapons won't be the only options that you will have, as we did see a player using a different version of the dual blades with a different stance and attacks. We have seen the Assassin, but now we get to take a look at the Ranger, which in Chrono Odyssey will be more of your traditional archer class. So if you aren't feeling the ranged gunner style of the Assassin or the magical options of the Sorceress, then an archer might be for you. Interestingly, it has a mix of both ranged and close-range options, which isn't usually the case for an archer-based class in MMOs, but I guess this is the benefit of the weapon switching system, as it allows for a bit more freedom. You can see that the game doesn't look like it uses tab targeting, as the player is having to physically aim at each enemy as they are being approached. Before we get into this last clip, we wanted to give you the quick recap we promised for Chrono Odyssey. If you've missed it in the past, it's an upcoming MMORPG for both consoles and PC, and the world is meant to be dangerous.
PlayStation